Let's face facts. Last year, 2020, it was a shit show. There was an election in the United States that turned out really nasty. Politics on both sides of the spectrum that divided. A worldwide pandemic that has affected people's bodies and minds. Do you shut down or do you stay open? What are the long-term effects of all of this? UFOs are real. Is that a good thing? Or is this the beginning of something bigger? Are we alone on this planet? Monoliths. That was pretty fucking crazy. I have to say there was some good. Hopefully you became closer with your family. When not locked in your home, did you enjoy the outdoors? Did you get to see our beautiful country? Did you take a leap into the unknown and do something like starting a podcast? Were you moved by the show Schitt's Creek and the beautiful message that it gave? So many things were taken away, but I want to focus on the good and hope to move into this new year, 2021, with some positivity. That being said, welcome to episode 9 of Those Canadian Lads podcast, the first one of 2021, Jeffrey.
Hello, Brad. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you doing tonight?
I was a little concerned for a few minutes there. That was you said it was going to be somber to start. I was getting a little worried, like maybe have to come over to rescue you or something.
I was reading my obituary.
I was going to say, like, obviously 2020 is a challenging year, and everyone likes to say that, but I like how, too, it's like, oh, it's 2021. Oh, yeah, everything went away on New Year's Eve, obviously. Everything that was bothering us is gone.
I saw the best tweet tonight. It was 2021 saying to 2020, hold my beer.
yeah. I know. I've seen a few where it's just like, what are we going to do when 2020 can finally start drinking because it's 21? But it's going to be great. So, no, I was a little concerned. It was a little somber to start off there. So,
yeah, no, you know what? Going into 2021, 2020, she's gone. She's gone. I'm excited. We're going to start this new year off, obviously, with some news and covering some of the topics of the day. The topic du jour on the Those Canadian Lads podcast has been really, really juicy over the last number of days and the last week. Some great news coming out there. And some obviously news within our own Alberta politics and Canadian politics. And we are recording tonight. What is it? January 6th, 2021. Donald Trump held a rally in Washington, D.C. today. And tonight, the Capitol building, I don't know if it's burning, but it's definitely...
There's some glass broken.
Some glass, people jumping through windows, somebody standing in Nancy Pelosi's chair wearing horns and no shirt. That was cool. So I think we're up for a good podcast tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, interesting times as the new year has rolled over. We'll touch base on all that great stuff, of course. But before we get too hard and heavy here, I think we should just kind of wrap up our holiday seasons. Brad, how did yours go towards the end, and how did you celebrate your New Year?
A great family time. Was able to spend a lot of time with the kids, skating, sledding. Got to use my drone for the first time. I got a drone a couple months ago. Hadn't used it at all. Literally sat in a box for a couple months and took it down to the park and did some videos of the kids, and it was a lot of fun. So all in all, a great lonely Christmas without family, of course, because obviously we've been asked by our provincial government to not gather in groups and get together or other things that we'll probably touch on during this podcast, but and I guess I'll give you my true feelings on how I felt about that, and I'm sure you will, Jeffrey. But
of course, yeah.
How about you guys? How did you enjoy Christmas? I saw you were on the old outdoor rink in the winter here.
I was. I took it upon myself to clear some snow off a lovely ice surface and skate for 2 hours. And not be able to walk for the rest of the day, pretty much just being completely gassed out. I also managed to hit the ice pretty nicely a few times while getting stuck in a crack and attempting to take a slap shot, something I probably haven't done in about, I don't know, 20 years, give or take. So
I can recommend anything, Jeff. It's called Arthritis Tylenol. Old age guys like us, perfect. It works really well.
I honestly obviously doing an activity that you don't normally do, you do feel it the next day, but it wasn't even the next day. It was hours later. I was like stuck on the couch watching a movie, and I was like, I can barely move. But no, it was great. Obviously, it's a good time to take advantage of the nice things we can do outside, and it was a beautiful day. Sun was shining, weather was cooperating, so it was good. No, it was a good roundup to the end of the holiday season. Dear listener, I have to apologize. It wasn't Brad's fault that you guys had to go a full 2 weeks without listening to a new episode of Those Canadian Lads. My wife and I decided to do a turkey dinner on the Wednesday when we typically record this, so that's my fault. I don't know why we would have done it out of order, but one of the things I thought I had taken care of was for Christmas Day, we decided to venture out a little bit and do a non-traditional meal since it's just the two of us. So we did a Wagyu steak and crab legs with some.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. So I will
Happy birthday, Jesus.
Yeah. Here's some Wagyu, which I'm still not even quite certain how it differentiates itself from other steaks, other than it's a little bit more fatty, but definitely good. Definitely expensive. And I'm going to give it the endorsement of it's not worth the price. But I will say, I have never gotten a crust on that steak so good. It cooked amazingly, but at the end of the day, we're blessed with good beef here in Alberta anyways, so maybe I'm spoiled at the best of times.
Ooh, Alberta beef.
Yeah, so that was good, but as I said, like, we decided to do a turkey dinner on the day that you and I usually record. So it's my fault, listener, that you had to wait 2 weeks for this wonderful podcast to come out again. So
all of our listeners deprived of episode 9 of Those Canadian Lads podcast, but we waited, Jeffrey, because we knew good things were going to happen. We knew there was going to be content to talk about going into the first week of 2021, and the world, the good vibes didn't disappoint, did they?
No, definitely not. I wouldn't have really thought that after such a quiet holiday season in regards to what the average citizen could do, that a bunch of revelations would come out from a political perspective, especially here in Alberta. Things ramping up in the US. I really didn't think a bunch of this junk was going to kick off and ruin a bunch of careers for people, which I love. So,
okay, well, let's start off with that. So, last week, it was actually, I think, on New Year's Day, Jason Kenney had to come out and discuss with the media that his municipal affairs minister, Tracy Allard, who's out of Grand Prairie, was spending the lovely Christmas break in the state of Hawaii.
It is a beautiful state.
It is a beautiful state.
I'd love to spend my time there too, so.
From what I understand is she's not truly responsible for the vaccine rollout, but she does have a part in it. And obviously that's a big deal. That being said, the government officials told us, stay home.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been the message from both our federal and our provincial governments. I know there's a little differentiation along the way, but the term has been used as unnecessary travel. And I don't know about you, but for the most part, I've decided that unnecessary travel is pretty much any vacation. The general citizen has avoided seeing their families, missed important events. We both have missed important things throughout the year because we couldn't gather with our families, and that's just the price we're paying during this pandemic. But obviously, some government elected officials and people that aren't elected either, like obviously.
I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you there. Private people, they want to travel. It's your body. It's up to you. You travel. If you have the means and you want to take the risk, you can go anywhere you want. The reason I say that is, and this is my opinion, and it's not yours, obviously. If you don't want to agree, you don't have to. But the private citizen, we're not run by dictators. But the fact of the matter is, these people have put in place restrictions on us, told us to stay home, and then hypocritically just go out and do their own thing, do what they want. And to use the excuse that, oh, this is a tradition for my family to go to Hawaii. Well, I don't know how long Minister Allard had been working for the provincial government, but I'll just say this: we pay your taxes. You're my employee. What are you doing?
We pay your salary via our tax.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm all fired up on this one.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
we pay for her job.
Yeah, and sorry,
she has the audacity and like lack of tact to go and travel while telling us, no, stay at home, be safe, don't go near your family, don't go near your parents. But boo fucking who? I'm sorry. I honestly, this is one of the things that I'm fired up about, and it's not a left wing thing or a right wing thing.
Whoa,
this is across. Well, did I say white? Oh my god!
You did.
they're gonna deem us a alt-right podcast. Oh god!
Yeah, no, we don't want that.
No, we don't. But here's the thing: it goes across parties. Mayor Ninchi, who's obviously very left wing, wanted lockdowns, shutdowns, was going to step in if the Kenney government didn't do it. His chief of staff traveled out of country. Well, and there's nobody's talking about that. Janice Irwin isn't talking about that. The NDP MLA from Highlands, she's not all over that one, but she's definitely all over the left or the right wing MLAs from the UCP. So I don't want to politicize this. It's not about what party you're in. It's just ridiculous that you're going to dictate to me that I should follow the rules, and I have been following the rules, and you're not going to. Horse manure, Jeff. Horse manure.
Very well put. No, I wasn't disagreeing with you. And I was alluding to government officials that aren't elected, as Nenchi's chief of staff who traveled. Obviously bad form for the most part. Now, I'll get into why I think it's bad form, but obviously there's more than just Allard who's traveled. I don't know all the numbers. I think it's like 9 or 10 people now. Obviously we have a guy like, I think it's Pat Wren.
Oh yeah, he's the guy. But you know what? Like,
but
he's got to really dig deeper into what the situation is, right? Like,
well, his constituents are coming out saying you're not even around to represent us, let alone going on vacations too. So this dude might be pulling double duty in regards to not winning over his next votes effectively. Now, I will say, like, obviously people are very upset about the fact that we've all paid a price during this time period to be safe, to be considerate of other people. And a lot of people are seeing it as a spit to the face in regards to these officials going and doing their thing when the rest of us have been trying to abide by it for the most part. There is part of me that I don't have a huge moral objection to it. Just because the average citizen does things, people are for the most part self-serving and egotistical and narcissistic and just do what they want. Oh, I don't want to hinder any of my joy. So I expect this from people to a certain extent. The one thing that bothers me, and it bothers me in the sense that if it was my MLA or my mayor or blah blah blah, I would say that this is an indication to me that your decision-making ability and process within your own mind is so poor that I can't trust you to make other decisions in regards to what you're doing to represent me and the constituency as a whole. If you can't foresee the fallout that was going to come from this, that the general population was going to be upset and was going to be rabid and calling for your head, then I'm sorry, but you're a moron. You have to be able to see that. It's ridiculous. It'd be like, I don't even know. It'd be like doing something in public and then being surprised. Like, it'd be like me hitting a kid in a parking lot at West Edmonton Mall and then being surprised when people are like stood up and protected the kid. Of course that's going to happen because people are going to be upset by your stupidity.
That's what I mean. It's the lack of tact. It's so selfish in the sense that, like I said, I don't care if you travel. I could care less. That's up to you. It's your decision. But when you're telling someone, the general population, to stay at home because this is a serious situation, you're out of line now. You're completely out of line. I'm glad she stepped down from her role. She should have done that the day that it was announced. Kenny, he should have stepped up a little bit more when he did that. He should have stepped up to the plate. That's on. I'm really torn, I guess, with my political views right now because this government currently is that they did not do a good job on handling this.
Well, keep in mind too that Kenny's been, other than a few Facebook posts and I think a tweet today, he's been MIA since New Year's Day. So we're on day 5 or 6 here of him not facing the public after this egregious moves by his staff, effectively. So he's definitely going to be in hot water, and like obviously experts are coming forward and saying like, is this going to ruin his career? Is this going to be the end of like it's going to affect him at the next election? Like it should. But let me double back on that for a second. But I want to touch on something you said in regards to your political. You said your political beliefs or something along those lines is questioning something. Keep in mind that, and this will be very telling in regards to how I feel about politicians, but political beliefs doesn't necessarily mean it's reflected by the party or the people that represent that party. These people, for the most part, are, once again, narcissistic, egotistical, lazy, and all they really want is a paycheck at the end of the day. They will say whatever they have to. They will portray themselves as however they have to get a free check. Like that's what they just want, a job. They don't necessarily represent the good or the bad of any political beliefs. Like they would tell you they do, but these people are all, they're just like, oh, I just want to go about my business all I want. It's complete hypocrisy. And that's exactly what you're gonna get from this type of stuff, because people are these type of people.
Well, I think if anything, the situation, it's opened up a lot of people's eyes. I'll disagree with you in some senses. Like, I think there are politicians out there that do believe in certain things, believe in causes, believe in community service. But it's very evident right now that our current government, and not all of them, I'm not going to say every single UCP member is a crook, because that's what people within the NDP would want us to say, right? They want people to jump off ship and jump to their side, and it's all right. We're the holier than now party. Well, there's a lot of scandals and things on that side of the fence as well, right? So.
Well, I will say, obviously, when Notley came out and she was like, I want to know where all of your representatives were over the holiday season, it's like, you better be pretty certain that none of your people pieced out at all, because you really run the risk of exposing your own hypocrisy about this type of stuff. So I think I'm going to take a silver lining approach to this. And as I just ranted and raved about how everyone's a horrible entity and I just hate everybody anyways, and we should just boil everybody.
And we said we were going to start this 2021 podcast on a positive note. So we turned that upside down. I love it.
Here is my positive note. This is an opportunity for the general public, regardless of what political affiliation you are, to sit there and go, okay, next time I vote, is the party I'm going to vote for, or the individual, the MLA, or on whatever it is on the federal level, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on it, but you're going to go, is that individual going to represent me properly and do the right thing? What I find is very frustrating is that, and I'll target Trudeau on this because it's an easy target, and I don't like Trudeau for the most part. Not one of those idiots who puts a F Trudeau sticker on your pickup. Like, you're a sack of garbage if you're going to do that. You're just going to need to relax a little bit. But if when you go to vote next time, if you ignore the we scandal, the hypocrisy, the other things that have taken place, and you still just prop somebody up. And let's go with this. When the next Alberta election happens in 2 years' time, if you're just going to blindly vote for the UCP representative without considering the hypocrisy and how they handled this situation, and whether or not you believe that somebody stood up and was a good leader about it, then you're missing the point. This is an opportunity for you to sit back, look at what you think is important, and think about how these people represent you. Because regardless of like your own intentions, how we elect these people, these are the people that represent our country on a world stage as well, our province within a national stage. You have a choice to make. And
well, you make a great point, because people just pick a side.
absolutely.
They don't dig into the person they're actually voting for. They generally, as a population, we either go blue or red or orange and blue, or some people actually go green, which is crazy. But anyways, I'm not going to go down that road.
Well, without going into without specific detail, I think I'm proudly can say this is that whether it be federally or provincially, I have voted for every party at some point or another because of what I thought was important at that point in time, except for the NDs. So I've changed my political views along the way, or at certain points in time, I'm like, this is more important than what other political views I have, and that's why I'm going to vote this way. But you have to look at that stuff on occasion.
I think going forward, it's really important to be sold in the constituents that you live in by the person that is going to fight for you, the individual. The Trudeau O'Toole thing now, like, I just laugh. Like, they're trying to slay each other left, right, and center. I saw today somebody tried to paint O'Toole like the next Donald Trump, which is completely false. Like, there's no Canadian politician running out there who's looned out as much as Donald has recently. Like, Trump
I don't
started
believe
off,
so.
he built a pretty strong economy, and then things started going off the rails, and he wouldn't deny the white supremacists during that during that last or the one big crap show debate.
The debate, yeah.
And then things started to unravel for him, and his true colors showed. And unfortunately, the states right now are it's in a bit of upheaval. And I'm not going to lie, there's some surreal scenes coming out of Washington today.
Well, yeah, and obviously we're Canadian. There's only so much of an opinion I have on American politics. I will say that I don't think I'm taking a very strong stance by thinking Donald Trump's kind of a loon, and this is like, wow, I'm really glad we don't have him as a leader. Like, I also kind of discount what the president is able to do from an economical standpoint. I know a lot of people go like, oh, well, it's his economy that's thrived, blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, well, Bill Clinton had 106 straight months of economic growth as well as a Democrat. And I don't think there's any policies that he did either. So I'm going to discount that a little bit. But I will say, though, when you get a scene today, and for the listener who hopefully you've seen the news at this point or another, because so this makes sense, of course. But you have, I'm going to call them an army, but it's probably not as threatening as that. But you have a bunch of maniacs.
I'm going to stop you there. There is a mixture. I guarantee you there are people there who love their country, believe in what Donald Trump was bringing to the table. They're also mixed with a bunch of friggin' lunatics that are obviously really far right dudes and women. A woman got shot and killed today, actually. Hopefully she. I don't know if that's worth dying over, but pretty sad stuff. Somebody losing their life in a situation like this for what's going on there. But there's people from the silent majority there who want to stand up for what their beliefs are. But then there's also the radicals, and those radicals took over. And there were also radicals during the other movements during the summers. Then we had cities burning down in the States, all that kind of crazy stuff. So, you can't mix both sides. There's just too much. You shouldn't pick sides like this. This is where it gets really ugly when you start picking a side. Like, I don't want to say you got to sit on the fence on everything, but love, don't hate. Love, don't hate, Jeff.
Well, thank you very much for that. I don't have a lot of love for the general population, but I'll focus on I'll focus on today's events as opposed to going shotgun blast across politics for last year or what's been going on in the States. But regardless of your political affiliation, or you're like, oh, I just want to stand up for what I believe in. When you charge a building and you you're in a mob of people and you're like, no, let's keep advancing. Oh, this is where our sitting government is currently doing legislative work in regards to ratifying the election. And your solution is to charge through the doors. What's in your head? It doesn't matter what your political beliefs are anymore. You're willing to do something stupid. And I'll dumb this down a great deal to a non-political thing. Back in 2005, 2006, the Edmonton Oilers went to the Stanley Cup final and unfortunately lost in Game 7 against the Hurricanes. Did you go to White Ave?
No, I sat on my porch and I cried with you.
No. Yeah, well, yeah, no, that was Game 7. But during that playoff run, this city, unfortunately, because we have a bunch of rabid fans, and quite frankly, I bleed blue and copper and orange too, but it's like you go down to White Ave, there's people just kicking in windows at chapters. Or
see, that's that mob mentality, though. Those people weren't fans.
But that's what I'm talking about. This is the same thing, whether or not you're a political affiliation or a fan of a team. If you're willing to go break shit just for no reason, then it doesn't matter what's going on. If you have any sane thought in your head, you got to get the hell out of there. Which is, admittedly, when I went down there and that's what started happening, we got out of there for that exact reason. Because I'm like, I don't want to be part of this. It's time to get away from this. And whether or not you're at a political thing and you're protesting police brutality or an election you think has been stolen from you, when you start breaking stuff and start charging into buildings or vehicles or attacking people, you've lost all credibility. It's gone.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like when the Black Lives Matters protests were going on, and the right, condemned the left, saying, "Oh, Antifa and all these people are bad, and all this is bad," but a small few made the issue bigger from a negative standpoint than with the good that they were trying to do, and vice versa. This is the same situation. So I don't know. I get tired of the whole politicizing of these things, right? Of trying to paint the other side, as ugly as potentially possible. I'm not the biggest fan of Trudeau, but I'll give the Prime Minister credit. He's done some good things here over the last year to help us get through the pandemic. But that being said, he's also done a lot of stupid things, and hopefully people make him pay the price when it comes down to time to pay the price. And that's the same for Jason Kenney and his government, is that we've voted this government in, we've given them a majority, so they're not going anywhere for the next couple more years. So like, we got to learn to live with it, and if we're not happy, we voice our concern. I think Albertans voiced their concern over the traveling MLAs, and at least something happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping for a little bit more. Like, obviously, Kenney at some point during his election campaign was running on the idea that there should be recall legislation, so that when your MLA isn't representing your constituency in the best way, is that you should have an opportunity to recall that individual. And it would have been nice had that been in place at this point in time, because I think we would have seen 10 people flop over, and it would have been hey, listen, you work for the people who vote you in. You work for the people who pay their taxes and pay your salary. So you better stand up and do what's right for us, is how I go about it. And I will say, though, too, and I'm not going to name a name, but I have a friend who works at the Alberta Legislative Building. He's been there for a long time. I'm going to probably wager about 20 years, because it's about the same amount of time that I've been out of school. He's got great stories of you. This is all political theater. These guys all walk out. They're all friends. They all talk to each other. They all barbecues together. They all grab a drink after work together. They are all the same. So like, people get like all tied up and like, oh, I'm part of this team. I'm part of this team. The people you think's on your team isn't truly on your team. These people are all the same. They're all just elected officials who, and maybe it's just them being cordial and nice and then playing it up for the camera or on an interview. But that's what it is. That's reality. Don't get too excited about it, because that person's not getting excited for you.
Do you think it would have been, let me throw this at you, this question. How do you think we'd be doing in this pandemic if Brian Jean would have won the UCP leadership?
You know what, I don't know. I like Brian Jean for the most part as much as I can like a politician, quite frankly. But it's hard to say what anyone would have done. It's the same thing. Like, would the NDP have handled it better had this taken place 2 3 years ago? I don't know. Um, I will say that I don't think that the 6 day span that Kenny's been MIA would have happened. So I'll give him credit there. Obviously, what are your thoughts?
Somebody brought this up to me the other day, and I thought about it over the last little while, and I just think about the compassion, the type of person Brian Jean portrayed himself in the media. Obviously, he had gone through some tough times through family and things like that, but I think we would have had a little bit more compassion with the type of leadership that we need during this time. Obviously, hindsight, uh, nobody knew we were going to have a pandemic like this situation. So, obviously Jason Kenney's been dealt a pretty crappy deck of cards.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah. So that being said, I just thought about that. And when that person brought it up to me the other day, I just said, it'd be interesting to kind of, go back in time now and say, okay, let's plop Brian Jean in this scenario and see how we do as a province. Right. But that being said, now it's time to get these vaccines rolled out, and hopefully this government has the horsepower and the knowledge, the wherewithal to get these things out there, right? So, and that's another topic of the podcast, which I wasn't going to bring up, but now that we're kind of talking about vaccines, I don't get people. I'm like, they're going to give vaccines to prisoners in prisons before first responders, before people who are above the age of 70, 60 years old. What is wrong with this world?
Is that legit in Alberta?
That's legit in the country.
It's the first time hearing of it. If that's the case, that's insanity.
But people are defending it, saying it's inhumane. It's very disgusting to think that way. Like, to me, it's like, it's common sense. Why would you give somebody who committed a crime, like, if you do good things happen to you. You get a vaccine so you don't get exposed to COVID-19.
you don't kill someone, you get a cookie.
Yeah. If you kill someone, or you rape someone, or you steal somebody's shit, maybe you should be in the back of the line. And when you get it, you get it.
I would even just equate it to the fact that, like, ourselves, we are young, healthy, healthy people, and as a result, we're probably going to be vaccinated in September, October, hopefully at that point. Majority of those individuals at the prisons are going to be in a similar boat. They're going to be young men, because let's face it, that's who commits crimes and that's who's in prisons for the most part. But they're not at risk in that sense that, and quite frankly, it's just like the payoff has to work out. With the amount of heartache, pain, money that's been put into getting the vaccine created, the effort to roll it out, the effort to keep it stored properly, and everything that comes with that type of stuff, it's got to go to the individuals that it's going to best equate to society. And that's, quite frankly, our first responders and people who are working in the healthcare industry. They're the ones who are going to have to take care of people who could get the virus and get sick. But they're also the ones who have been, putting up the effort at the time. So that's where the money should be spent, in my opinion. And no, I was in the same argument. It shouldn't go to me right now. I don't need it right now. So,
they're saying that because prisoners are in a high risk situation because they're obviously in condensed areas, things like that with each other. Well, they're also contained.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, yeah. Like, I don't know if you've been in a prison. I'm not recommending it, obviously.
Have you?
No. But this is going to take a turn for the little bit less serious. But you go to a place like Alcatraz, and let's face it, prisons haven't been built very differently over the previous 100 years. They're all the same. You go to a place like Alcatraz and you go sit in a cell for a few minutes. It is frightening. And you're in close quarters with everybody. It is built the way it's built because it's a prison. So yeah, you're going to be at risk of you're at risk of catching something, and you're at the risk of a hot beef injection while you're trying to have a shower. So,
oh Jesus. So this is in the news. This is federal news. Federal inmates set to receive COVID-19 vaccinations, not hot beef injections, starting Friday. And this was yesterday.
mm-hmm.
I don't know. I saw a tweet, a lady here. She's like, what does she say? She's like, prison isn't a death sentence in Canada. Well, no, it's not. But we should vaccinate our elderly and first responders. I went to the dentist today. Man, I actually felt for the first time some sympathy for my dentist.
For a dentist, yeah. The worst on the planet.
Yeah. I felt some sympathy for him. He was drilling into my tooth. But the amount of protocols that they have in place, and I felt very safe, and they did a great job taking care of me. But I haven't been in a hospital yet, thank God, and knock on wood. I don't want to go in a hospital, but man, first responders, the nurses, the doctors, everybody who's dealing with this on a daily basis, the amount of work they have to do to protect themselves, stick a GD needle in their arm. Just come on. We'll get to the prisoners. And if they get sick, most likely they're not going to be as worse off as somebody who's, 70, 80, 90, or as the CBC had to write a news article the other day, somebody of 99 and 102 passed away of COVID, and it's very sad. And I don't think that's a newsworthy article, but that's my opinion, and whatever.
Yeah, I'll choose my words carefully as we're still trying to attract listeners. So I don't necessarily just want to blast away at things, but going back to the comment you made, somebody made a comment about a prison in Canada is not a death sentence, and that's 100% correct. A prison at one point was the idea of reforming an individual. I think the success record on that proves that it doesn't work out that well, unfortunately, but that's an entirely different topic for more intelligent people than myself. And I will say don't fact check me, but don't jump down my throat either. But this is a virus that, unfortunately, it has claimed a lot of people. It's claimed loved ones. It's claimed important people to your family. It targets the elderly a lot more than the younger individuals. That's not to say that young individuals haven't lost the battle as well. And that's, unfortunately, we face.
That's what I was trying to get at, Jeff, is that get the vaccines into the, the old age homes or extended care homes and things like that. Let's get those vaccines out there so we can protect these people, because like you said, you and I, we're pretty low risk.
We're fine.
Yeah.
No. And that's what I'm kind of getting at is that it's just like there is an order of operations that comes with this type of stuff. And unfortunately, there's bad stories all around this type of, around this virus. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to belittle it, but unfortunately, people pass away every day. And as a result, you have to take a calculated effort in regards to how we're going to protect the most people and aid society the quickest way. And as I said, that's going to first responders quick first, along with the elderly, people that are vulnerable, people who are immune deficient as a result of other things. And then we just work our way down the line. And then that's all it is.
Yeah,
nice and logical.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say and be unsympathetic, but those aren't news stories to me.
No, I agree.
Yeah, that's not newsworthy, right? It's sad for sure, and obviously, I don't want any of my elderly family members to go through it. But I don't know. We're not keeping this very positive, Jeff. Let's turn the dial a little bit. Let's just change it up here, because
before we do,
news of the day was kind of shitty. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, before we do, because this is an opportunity. I've alluded to the fact that I was going to joke about something about your political beliefs, and then you cornered me, I think, twice on it because I keep forgetting to bring it up. But because we were talking politics to a certain extent. The thing I was going to point out, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's just you. We're all biased in our certain extents, but I find it really interesting when individuals go it's like, I want to talk about cancel culture. I want to talk about people having their voices oppressed, but you'll only find the examples of the people who share your same similar beliefs. Like it would never be something like I don't know what a good example is, but it's just everyone does this. It's just what we do. So, and that's what I was going to bring up to you. I had more laugh.
I don't
with it, but yeah, no, you're totally innocent.
I'm innocent. That doesn't happen at all on those Canadian Lads podcast. I completely toe the line. I make sure that everybody's represented. I attack both sides. Today I attacked Jason Kenney and Janice Irwin of the NDP.
And actually, today you did a great job of. I think you were scattered the exact right amount. I'll say that.
Yeah. I'm trying to share the abuse on both sides.
Oh, there's plenty of guilt to go around when it comes to this type of stuff. So I do agree. I think we've gone down the train tracks of a little bit of negativity. So let's swap it up a little bit before we wrap up for the night. Actually, this is going to be a bit of a negative thing, but it's in the blessed idea of the return of hockey. So I'm a little bit of a glutton for punishment when it comes to readers' comments, whether it be political, sports-wise, anything like that. I love reading people's comments below a story. Now, I do it to piss myself off. I don't know why I want to do this to myself. Maybe it's a little bit of like atonement for my general poor attitude, or the fact that I just think I deserve some punishment along the way. But obviously, Mark Spector, and I think it's Ron Francis, who covers the Flames for Sportsnet. They've been covering the camps, ideas of what the lines are going to be, what are the problems with the team.
Wasn't Ron Francis of the Hartford Whalers?
No, yeah. No, so it isn't Ron Francis then. But Ron Francis did play for, I think it was the Penguins.
Eric Francis,
thank you. I'm terrible with
Eric Francis.
Anyways, the comments below, and it's going to be ironic, and I'm going to understand the irony and the hypocrisy of this. If you comment and you feud and you debate underneath these articles with Flames fans, Oilers fans, Leafs fans, Canucks fans, you're a loser. You do not contribute to this society. You probably don't have a thought in your head. You're a moron. And the one thing I love too is that it's Flames fans and Oilers fans jawing at each other. Now, you know, and the listener should know by now, I'm an Oilers fan. I watch a lot of Oilers hockey. You really want to talk like these two franchises are inept. They have not been good since the lockout. If you look at it, I think the Flames have been to the playoffs 8 times, have been eliminated in the first round 7 of those 8 times. The Oilers have been to the playoffs twice, made it to the second round once in 16-17. These franchises are, if you're a Boston fan or a Vegas fan, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Washington, you name it, even LA. LA's on hard times right now. I'd be like, I'm not listening to you loser fans because you guys are idiots. Your teams are garbage and have been for like 15 years.
I definitely don't go in, and it's funny, I'll tweet something out every once in a while just to kind of get it off my chest, but I don't expect anybody to reply. It's not like I'm like sitting there waiting by my Twitter feed. It's like, I want that hate to come back to me. It's just something to kind of release the juices a little bit and be like, okay, I need to say this. I need to put this out here. I'm not happy about this.
Yeah.
I'm always surprised that some Flame fans, they posted a man cave picture, and it was just all over the place, bunch of Flame stuff, and I was just having some good fun with it or whatever. And I posted a picture of my man cave, just a couple Oiler jerseys on the wall. You've been in my basement.
Yeah.
I was proud of it, right? Like
very tactful.
Nice. Yeah, tactful, classy.
Nice, yeah.
Trying to be classy, a classy fan, and I was just like, that's not a man cave. You're a loser. Those are just 2 jerseys on your walls. What's wrong with you? And I'm just like, I'm convinced like the general population literally is messed in the head. Like, I'll read some comments and like, it's funny to read them. I won't like, I made like, I think when the recordings were released of the the UCP government and health officials, Hinshaw, over just before Christmas there, I just was like, "Okay, this is disgusting. Like, this is a breach of privacy. These people should not have their meetings recorded and then released to, the news, things like that." And I was attacked left, right, and center. All I said was the disgusting thing to do was to record people, and because the hatred of the UCP is so bad by the left, I was like skewered, and I'm like, I don't 100% agree with what the UCP are doing, but I don't deserve to be skewered on Twitter because I just defended Dr. Hinshaw, because her trust was broken by people she works with. Like, to me, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I just that's in everything, and it's in politics now. Twitter's a mess. I'm telling you, Twitter is a cesspool of garbage, and I'm actually like, I got to pull myself out of there. Other than promoting the podcast. As somebody who doesn't really partake in social media, like I have accounts, I follow a few things that interest me. For the most part, it's sports related. But yeah, that's the exact reason I don't participate in this stuff. Plus, I don't think anyone wants to hear my thoughts. Ironically, we're doing a podcast where it's all half my thoughts. But I just think, I think for the most part, we live in a society, and I would encourage everybody to listen to this Jocko podcast. The guy is awesome, in my opinion, but he hits the nail on the head. The psychology of today is we are very weak, and we are very willing to just throw whatever we want on a keyboard, on a social media platform. That's us just trying to lash out. It's ridiculous. Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's like, jumping behind a cause. You throw your hashtag out there. That felt really good today. I supported the cause. I sent a tweet out,
Rest assured, if you do that, in my opinion, you've made no difference in the world.
Exactly.
You're nothing.
And that's why, like, Oilers Twitter is a real thing. There's people who follow each other. They have lots of followers, all this kind of stuff. There's some great people who tweet some really funny stuff out on Oilers Twitter. Unfortunately, I've got to move on because it's become so politicized because there's been no hockey. These people have shown all their political colors, and you're like, okay, this guy's really showing himself here.
Well, I'll put it this way. I think when the distractions return, and for me, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge NFL fan. Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to the Super Bowl this year. I am elated that I'm going to watch a 17th game this year. But once the distractions return, this is going to peter out a little bit. People's opinions are going to just kind of go to the wayside a little bit, and it's going to work out back to normal, I would probably say. So
I think that's a big situation, is that there's not enough people to be distracted with. They're not going to movies. They're not going to, hockey games or football games or following anything that's anything but politics right now, because one, the news cycle is COVID-19 24/7 and the US election, right? There's really no in between. We should be talking about how beautiful the weather is in Alberta right now, because it's unreal. We're getting closer to the end of the beginning of spring here. Every day it's just nicer and nicer. So knock on wood, we haven't gotten that cold spell yet, but like, man, like it's just amazing. And I'm sure I'll be called out, on it because, I
don't know. Before I put you on the spot and,
put me on the spot.
But no. It's a good way to wrap up with a good story.
I don't want to wrap up yet. I want to go for another hour. No,
we're not. No, I'm not doing that. But much like what I'm going to talk about and ask you a question about in a second. This I can't remember who said this. It may have heard on a podcast, but this equates to after pandemic time as well as pre-pandemic time and during pandemic time. You can either do the time or let the time do you. So you can either lose yourself in this type of stuff and you can just be distracted and you can just go let your mind wander into this world, or you can focus yourself and you can try to self-improve yourself and improve the environment around you, and you can focus your efforts into your family, your friends, and improving your own life. Or you can just be distracted by the stuff and lose your mind. Now, that being said, I know of an individual who did do the time towards the end of 2020 here. And I'm bringing this up because, and I meant to bring it up on a previous podcast, but I'm exceptionally proud of Brad over here, because Brad buckled down and achieved a major goal, a goal that obviously was very important to you. Now, what I'm alluding to is Brad really took control of his diet, and he's lost a bunch of weight. Brad, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but how much weight did you drop, and how long did it take you?
I started in September. I started out at 242. On December 23rd, I weighed in at 202. So 40 pounds.
That is fantastic, my man. And a lot of people, you can find a lot of great reasons to dedicate yourself to this type of thing and, put in the effort. But one of the things that you said to me that really hit home was that you went skating with the kids. And I think you said on the podcast, but you went skating with the kids, you were able to do crossovers, you were able to play with the kids, and your joints weren't bothering you, and you felt good while doing it. And that's the important thing that came from this, man. And you did a fantastic job. I want to say it publicly that I'm exceptionally proud of you, man.
Thanks, man. Coming from you, that means a lot. We've known each other and been friends for a long time. And, it's it was interesting. It's affected the way, I view my health. It affects obviously the way I want to look after myself for the future. My relationship with my kids is affected in a positive manner. And, it's been funny, listening to some people and talking to some people about, the route I took. I went with a specific diet plan. I did the keto diet. Now it's about, making sure not only I lose, but strength training, things like that. It's funny how some individuals take it in the negative with doing that type of diet, and they're not really either educated on it or have never done it before. But they went down the negative path with it. So I did it for me. I did it for the kids. I did it because I don't want to have health issues later on in life. Right. And I'm looking forward to, doing some other things now. Like I said, strength training. I have some goals physically that I want to do, now that I'm in my 40s, specifically around, activities and things like that. I'm excited. And this kind of goes back to our opening, looking at, 2021 as a positive, working hard, spending more time with family, doing things that, fill the cup, right? This podcast is something that you and I have talked about that we enjoy. I would highly recommend, if this is something that you've always wanted to do, do it. Get out there, put yourself out there, talk about things that you love to talk about, things that you've never talked about before. We're talking about things that in our relationship, we really haven't touched on a lot of things, specifically things like politics, or, we've definitely talked about Oilers, because that's generally 95% of the conversation that we have when we're together in person. But yeah. I appreciate that, Jeff. And, you're a bit of a health role model for myself, and you're somebody who takes care of their body. And thanks for the motivation and kind words.
Well, no, it's well earned, buddy. And definitely some strength training is coming your way. I'm going to force you to, we're going to get under the bar. You're going to stand by to get some. Don't worry.
When do I start my steroid regimen?
Oh, we're beyond steroids. We have brand new things, way new things.
I want to be A-Rod of the podcast game.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, that's what we'll find you a good role model when it comes to performance enhancing drugs.
You know what? I know we want to shut down here, but I do have to bring up one more topic.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
And it's our topic du jour.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I meant to. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the bill that passed in Congress last week, that I believe Trump did try to veto it, but the overruled, which is, I guess, a historical feat as well.
Yeah. I think he did
Embedded
sign it.
in, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
At the end of the day, embedded in this bill, this defense spending bill has COVID relief information in it, is a UFO report that the government task force that's following this stuff. And again, if you are not up to speed, UFOs are real. There's more and more sightings. This is getting 2021 is going to be crazy for this stuff. So they have to report in June to the public, a congressional report of what their findings are. And I think we're in for a surprising tidbit of information, I hope.
So, one, I find it obviously I was excited to hear this as well, that they were going to be forced, that part of this. I find it amazing that in politics it's just like we're giving out money to our to our citizens to help them get through COVID. But don't worry, we're going to put a UFO portion in there too, which is fantastic. But I do love the idea that that's been put in there. I really hope some real news comes out of it. I unfortunately, and I think I said it in the last podcast, I think Biden is used to this world and he's going to put the kibosh on this. And quite frankly, how much of a lie does the American government have to put out in regards to saying like, oh yeah, we have information on UFOs. They're weather balloons. They're all weather balloons. And you can just lie your way through it effectively like that. But it is very telling. And my wife's getting very tired of me talking about this and just ranting and raving about it. But it is very telling that this was in a government bill. This was a major piece of legislation that just got ratified towards the end of the year. And it included that. That is interesting, regardless of your beliefs. Like either they're wasting complete time or this is legit something.
Jeff, they're putting millions of dollars into this. This is taxpayer money. Like, this is serious.
Oh yeah, no, I think it is too. But now, as I said, I think we're going to get jobbed on it to a certain extent. I don't think we're going to get the information we want, and that's just kind of the skeptic in me, unfortunately. But it is very interesting, and as I said, I love that it's in there. So, on a quick note of that too, well, the name of the documentary that you put me onto that was on Apple it's not unidentified, or what is?
No,
was it called?
the phenomenon.
The phenomenon.
Yeah.
So on that same note, I went down the wormhole a little bit of watching History Channel, which is now UFO programming. But
did you watch Unidentified?
I watched Unidentified, yes. Now, I will say, much like Ancient Aliens or any of those shows, each one of these hour-long episodes could be 15 minutes if they really wanted to just edit it down and not just keep going through things. But it is interesting, and obviously it goes in. Obviously, I think it's like an 8-part series, give or take. But it definitely is able to provide more detail than the Phenomenon documentary because it's 8 hours long theoretically as opposed to a 2-hour documentary.
So it's Lou Elizondo, who was the leader of ATIP, which he was the government official responsible for ATIP, which essentially he left the government. He's got a non-disclosure agreement that he can't discuss what he knows, obviously, but he's going out and reporting on new sightings, new information. Christopher Mellon, who was also in the government, he's the one who actually released the Navy videos in 2017 that depict the Nimitz encounter, and I forget the other one, but it's
that guy lives in a castle, by the way. That guy's house was impressive.
Well, no, his family is the Mellon family, like from I think it's in Pennsylvania, the Mellon Corporation or whatever. He comes from that line of family, right? He comes from money, and he's was in a high level government position, right, and in the Defense Department, right? So these are like legit people that are coming out and talking about this stuff. What is kind of goofy is Tom DeLonge employs these two guys now, and but his group, Tom DeLonge, released this information in 2017. Now Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon are really kind of leading the charge in this community to help break out and lobby behind the scenes to get more of this information released. Because obviously they know more than what's out there. And Harry Reid, the senator from Nevada, talked about that in the documentary that you and I just discussed, right? So really interesting stuff, and I'm sure we'll keep talking about it, but I'm sure hockey will take more of our concentration as it starts over the next few months. Absolutely. And every second day we're inundated by a Canadian hockey team either coming into Edmonton or we're going out to play them. So I'm super excited about that.
Absolutely. I'll give my closing thoughts on Unidentified. It is unjarring to see Tom DeLonge in a suit. I don't know why that bothered me so much, but it was I was like, what the hell is going on here? And that Elizondo guy, the guy's got the worst goatee in the history of Earth. Like, that is the worst looking goatee I've ever seen in my life. But all the power to them while they expose the truth. So
don't say that. I'm going for that look. I'm gonna get the Billy Goat goatee going and my America trucker hat.
Oh, he's got. I also noted like in the first 3 episodes, he must have worn 45 different hats. I was pretty impressed by the hat collection too.
But one V-neck T-shirt.
Yes, I know. It's pretty. He's obviously chosen what he wants to look like. So definitely interesting to watch. But yeah, no, I think that's a great place to leave it off.
Well, Jeffrey, it's been a slice. I want to thank all of the listeners that are listening to Those Canadian Lads podcast. And funny enough, we have listeners. We have people reaching out to us all the time. Funny enough, yeah. They're enjoying the podcast. So I'm really excited to what 2021 brings. And hopefully we can kind of steer away from this whole political realm and get into the things that we want to talk about that are real Canadiana people, anything but this nastiness that's out there in the world right now will be a nice turn, but it's hard not to talk about the topic of the day, which is unfortunately in our faces right now, and it's all kind of the catalyst is really COVID-19, of what's going on. So
we'll have a positivity podcast in the near future full of unicorns and rainbows. It will be 12 minutes long as opposed to an hour.
hate speech.
We'll put something good out there. So with that being said, thank you very much for tuning in. If you tune in, if you don't, go to hell. Brad, thank you very much. Have yourself a great night.
Please don't go to hell, listener. We love you.